Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3.
Check, check, check.
It's hot. Okay, but that's good though. But now I'm trying to find the receiver.
Okay, hi Arthur. This is English. Okay. And
Check, check, check.
And English. No? Stop? Stop. Stop or good? Good? Stop.
Yeah, I'm doing. Oh, see, drop the red third channel. Check, check, check. 1, 2, 1, 2. Check, check, check.
Do you hear me on French? French? Do you hear me on French? Yeah?
Now, green mic should be on channel 5. Actually, it's pretty good where it is now. Oh, sorry about that.
Okay, Arthur, can you hear me? I'm on English. Great. And French. Can you hear me on French? I'm speaking on French. Le français. Can you hear me on français? Français? Do you have the PVR on? Awesome. Okay, checking the next. English? English? And French. Okay, great.
Oui, Joël, est-ce que c'est mieux comme ça? Je vais te dire une coupe de lignes. Check, check, check. Check 1, check 2. Check 1, check 2. I've turned up the auxiliary to the maximum for this. Check, check, check. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Everybody, clap your hands.
call to win a 759-8622. We've got 4 tickets to give away, value of $60 for the mystical event. Please check that out. I am so very happy that you all tuned in. Thank you to our callers and to all the listeners for checking us out first and foremost. We'll be here every Monday from 4 to 5. Again, I'm Jennifer Clark. Thank you for tuning in. And remember,
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Bonjour, mesdames et messieurs. On va commencer la réunion.
We will be starting in a minute.
City Council meeting of September 11th in just a moment. If members of council could take their seats, and members of public as well. Good morning. This is Ottawa City Council meeting of September 11th, 2013. For those who are able to, please stand for prayer and remain standing for the singing of our national anthem, and afterwards we'll observe a moment of silence for the victims of 9/11. Almighty God, let us work together to serve all our people. Dieu Tout-Puissant, aidez-nous à travailler ensemble afin de bien servir nos citoyens. As all of us sadly recall, it was on September 11th, 12 years ago today, that 2,974 lives were lost as a result of the terrorist activity in the United States, including 24 Canadians. We will observe a minute
of silence for the victim of September 11.
Merci. Thank you. It's now my pleasure to ask Councillor Shad Qadri to introduce two special guests who are going to sing our national anthem. Councillor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and good morning, Council colleagues and the members of the audience. Today it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you two of my residents from the Stittsville area, namely Bernie and Mavis Mason. Both are longtime residents of the City of Ottawa and the Stittsville community. Their love for bluegrass music was first discovered in 1979, listening to a bluegrass program on the radio. Bernie immediately gave into the toe tapping and humming, got out and dusted off his guitar from under the bed, and started to seriously both study and sing along with the music. In the mid-'80s, Bernie helped form and was a member of two bands, Maple Hill and Vintage Bluegrass, and was a founding member of a group of musicians that brought bluegrass music to the old Cedars restaurant in the Hazeldean Mall in the late 80s. As a child, Mavis was trained in classical music, but since hearing bluegrass with Bernie, she too got hooked and started singing the music and playing the stand-up bass. The duo has played alongside many internationally known bluegrass musicians over the years, both in the USA and Canada. Such bands include Three's Company out of Malone, New York, the Sewanee Connection out of the Live Oak, Florida, the Mason Connection out of Fort Lauderdale, and now as part of a 5-member band called Dusty Strings. Together, Bernie and Mavis have brought in many highly rated American bluegrass bands to promote bluegrass music in the Ottawa area. Bernie and Mavis are modest people who simply enjoy the opportunity to play their music for people's pleasure. This Friday, they welcome you out to Stittsville to listen to them play and perform at the Gaya Java Coffee Shop on Stittsville Main Street. It is my pleasure to introduce Bernie and Mavis Mason to you, the audience this morning.
I'd like you to sing with me too, please.
You don't want that.
Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all our sons' command, Cartambraste porte le pays, il sait porter la croix, ton histoire est une pépille, ton plus brillant exploit. God keep the land glorious and free. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard o'er thee. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Well, Bernie and Mavis, thank you very, very much, and thanks to Councillor Qadri. Merci beaucoup à Conseiller Qadri pour choisir Bernie.
Thank you for choosing Bernie and Mavis to sing our national anthem.
To invite Alison Dingle to come forward to the podium, along with her city councillor, David Chernyshenko. And there's David over there, as we present this meeting's Mayor's City Builder Award. Welcome, Allison, and it's great to have Allison's family and I know friends from the community here to celebrate as well. Here comes Councillor Chernishenko right there. The Ottawa Symphony Orchestra, as many of us know, is one of Ottawa's great cultural institutions. But without the work of Allison Dingle, it may not be a viable one. L'Orchestre Symphonique.
The Ottawa Symphony Orchestra is one of our city's great cultural institutions. But without the work of Allison Dingle, it may not be a viable one.
Since 1978, Allison has served on the board of directors of the Ottawa Symphony Orchestra and as fundraising chair since 1986. Finding corporate and individual donors for the symphony while helping to steer the direction as a board member are time-consuming and often thankless jobs to which Allison brings a firm devotion and endless enthusiasm. And still, they are not to the full extent of her volunteerism. For over 20 years, she's been a captain for the Canadian Cancer Society of Canada, and since 1994, she's chaired the Centertown Emergency Food Centre. In addition, Ms. Dingle served on the board of directors of the Centertown Church's Social Action Committee for a decade after 1994. As with the OSO, there is no doubt that these organizations are better for having her be a part of them. Comme pour l'Orchestre Symphonique d'Ottawa, il ne fait aucune...
As for the OSO, there's no doubt that these organizations are better for her for having been a part of them.
Together, and I'm thrilled that she could be here today with family and friends to be recognized. She will tell you that she is just one of many people in these organizations. She works on behalf who do great work, and while that is true, those who work alongside her know that she is an essential and irreplaceable part of all of these groups. I had the honor of serving for a very brief period of time on the board of the Ottawa Symphony with Allison, and I know her passion and devotion and commitment to this important cultural institution and the work, the countless hundreds of hours that she puts in to the causes that she finds important and that are important to our community. Allison, thank you for all of the work that you do to promote the arts and the health of our residents and the plight of those less fortunate in our society. Congratulations on receiving the Mayor's City Builder Award. Keep up the great work, and it's an honor to know you. Thank you.
Councillors, dear friends and guests, thank you very much, Mayor Worship, for your generous and encouraging words. I'm truly honored to accept this award, and as you hinted, I really wanted to start by saying that I do so standing on the shoulders of so many wonderful volunteers who have mentored and assisted me as I grew into my interests and community work. I also want to in particular thank my family who are with me today for their great encouragement and support. They have never minded a late dinner or whatever comes of that, and lots of people know how it affects families. I began volunteering soon after I came to Ottawa in 1971. I taught swimming for handicapped children at Centennial High School and served on the board of Ocean Cove, Ottawa. And I want to emphasize that volunteering has greatly enriched my life and deepened my appreciation for our vibrant community. Through volunteering at my local community center, I really got to know my community. And through other volunteer activities, I've met both the powerful and the humble in our community. As Mayor Watson mentioned, I first met him while we were both volunteers at the Ottawa Symphony Orchestra. And I think, Jim, you were just out at Carleton and starting to work on the hill in those days. So you have never failed as a volunteer either. Almost all volunteer organizations I have worked with have benefited from the support of the city, whether funding or the expertise of city staff, and in many cases from both. In accepting this award, I want to encourage you to recognize the invaluable work that volunteers contribute to our community in almost every area of concern to you, whether health, social services, culture, recreation, and even transportation policy and economic development. Volunteers do indeed build communities. In closing, I want to urge you to continue to fund and support our volunteer institutions, especially those that protect and care for the most vulnerable in our community. Thank you very much. I'm very touched.
Thank you very much, Allison, and Jim and your family and friends from the community. Thank you for being with us today. Our next item on the agenda is the launch of the City of Ottawa United Way campaign. And I'd ask the two co-chairs, the honorary co-chairs of our city campaign, Conseiller Matthew Fleury and Mark Taylor, to come forward to make a presentation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and bonjour à tous. As the Mayor indicated, both Councillor Fleury and I are honored to be the campaign co-chairs for the City of Ottawa's United Way campaign once again this year. And we want to remind you that Friday is the official kickoff of that campaign. Always a fun time. So if you haven't got your tickets yet, please get them for the barbecue. We'd like to thank all of the city staff throughout the entire organization who are all part of the machinery behind the scenes as part of the campaign team. They've been doing a lot of work for a lot of months, gearing up for this campaign to ensure that we hit our goal and to ensure that we touch every single city employee with a little bit of the United Way story so that they understand the good work that the United Way does. This year, we're here to put forward a bit of a challenge to you and to our fellow elected representatives to step up, as well as your staff, and do better than last year in terms of the participation rates. And starting this Friday, you're going to have that chance. Matt?
Alors, merci.
Thank you, Mark. What we want this year, as you know, it's our second year together. We've learned, and we want to make this campaign even more exciting. We know that every year it's a new thing, so we're trying to have leaders in each department, and that's what we're asking, to share the story this year. So there's over 180 organizations in the community that do good work, be it yourself, your family, or your friends. There's someone somewhere in the department who's getting help from United Way. And we're asking you this year to share these stories with your colleagues so that this campaign becomes more personal.
Each and every single department to share these stories. There's 180 organizations in our community that are helping families, community members, friends, maybe yourselves, in some way, shape, or form. So share those stories to make this year's campaign a lot more personal.
So we invite you once again to the great launch this Friday.
And for the management as well, we're trying to double our participation rate from last year. Alors, Mark and I are going to be on the lookout to make sure that our targets in terms of doubling our efforts are there this year.
Give them a round of applause because they're taking on this added duty. Merci beaucoup, conseiller. Et merci beaucoup, monsieur.
Thank you, councillors.
Our final presentation.
Enfin, la dernière présentation, c'est au nom des personnes des gens de la Fondation du Service des pompiers d'Ottawa. Comme vous le savez, si vous êtes à Ottawa depuis longtemps, on fait des campagnes de financement pour qu'ils puissent bâtir un monument magnifique qui a été sculpté et qui se trouve maintenant juste à l'extérieur à la place Marion Dewar. Ils ont dit qu'ils voulaient rembourser l'argent qui avait été recueilli et ils ont de bonnes nouvelles pour nous. Alors on a demandé au conseiller Taylor, qui est président du comité des services de protection et services communautaires, de venir, de s'approcher avec ses collègues. Alors, approchez-vous si vous voulez tous et procédez à votre présentation. Peter Kennedy est le président de l'Association des pompiers. Oh,
the leader of the Ottawa Firefighters Band, and so many other, the president of the foundation. They had a wonderful evening on Thursday at Sala San Marco, where in fact they let us know the good news that they had lived up to their word, lived up to their commitment to pay back in full the loan. We thank them for that in advance of their presentation, and we thank them and Louisa and all of the people who have put up that monument to the fallen firefighters of the city of Ottawa. There was a very touching ceremony. I know Councillor El Shantiri, as Deputy Mayor, was there on my behalf on Friday, and then of course on Sunday we had the national ceremony that took place just on LeBreton Flats, where the national monument was constructed about a year ago. So I'm not sure who's going to speak. Dave or you? Dave Smith, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning, Your Worship. Thank you very much for having us here today. And I want to thank the councillors, one and all, for their patience and their generosity to us. First of all, I would like to introduce the committee, the group that is here today. And leading the group is our president, Reverend Dawson McVeters, a past fire inspector. And it's interesting to note that 12 years ago was the tragedy at New York City. 12 years ago today. 11 years ago today, we held our first memorial service. And it was the inspiration by Dawson and Paul and Lana and a few others that got that memorial service going. From there, we thought, well, maybe we'll have a little plaque on a tree. Well, you see it out there, $1.2 million later. But anyways, I came late to the meeting, so I was named fundraising chair, no experience. And Marion has been very patient to us, and of course, I could probably speak about each and every one of you, but it's been a marvelous experience for me personally. And on my extreme left here is Dave Stevenson, past president of the Ottawa Firefighters Association, past president of the Nepean Firefighters Association, current chairman of the City of Ottawa Superannuation Fund, and all about consultant in North America on fire services throughout the continent. Next to Dawson, of course, is Lana O'Brien. Lana is the youth chaplain at Dayspring Church and the chairman of our memorial services. Angelo, if anybody in this room doesn't know Angelo Filoso, community builder par excellence and bulldog for us, the guy that pushed through a lot of things that we would probably still be stalled with. And Angelo, of course, is the editor of El Pistino, the president of the Italian Community Association and Historical Society in the Italian community, chairman of this year's Grape Fest, etc., etc., etc. You know, Jim. Anyways, Mark Taylor, of course. Paul Casagrande is the leader of our band, and was a past executive chief with the Ottawa Fire Services. And Paul is currently co-chair of the memorial service that we have today. Brian Conway, our steadying influence, was the finance chairman with Ottawa Fire Services. He also worked for the regional government and the National Capital Commission in the finance department. And it's because of his pencil sharpening and telling us what we can't do that we are where we are today. And I want to thank you all. As I said earlier, it's been a great experience. And we have a little check for you, Your Worship. Go on, Mike. Is it going to show my belly?
Well, thank you again to our firefighters and Dave Smith and his colleagues. Madam Deputy Clerk, roll call, please.
Conseiller Manette.
Yes, sir.
Councillor Blois.
Here.
Councillor Harder.
Here.
Councillor Wilkinson.
Present.
Councillor Alchantiri.
Present.
Councillor Caudry.
Present.
Councillor Taylor.
Here.
Councillor Shirelli.
Here.
Councillor Eglai.
Here.
Councillor Deans.
Here.
Councillor Tierney.
Yes, sir.
Conseiller Fleury.
Si.
Councillor Clark.
Ici.
Councillor Holmes. Councillor Hobbs. Councillor McCrae.
Here.
Councillor Chernyshenko.
Present.
Councillor Hume.
Here.
Conseiller Blais.
Si.
Councillor Thompson.
Present.
Councillor Moffat.
Here.
Conseiller DeRoche. Councillor Hubley.
Here.
Mayor Watson.
Ici.
Le quorum est atteint, Monsieur le Maire.
You have quorum.
Minutes for the 28th of August, 2013. Carried. Adopté. Declarations of interest, including those originally arising from prior meetings. Déclaration de conflit d'intérêts, y compris ceux découlant des réunions antérieures. None. Communications as presented. Regrets, Councillors DeRoche and Hobbs advise they'll be absent of the council meeting, from the council meeting. Motion to introduce reports. Motion portant présentation d'un rapport. Councillors Blois and Blais, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That Agricultural and Rural Affairs Committee Report 34, Finance and Economic Development Committee Report 36, and Transportation Committee Report 30 be received and considered, and that the rules of procedure be waived to receive and consider the report from the President and CEO of the Ottawa Community Lands Development Corporation entitled Ottawa Community Lands Development Corporation 2012 Annual Report, as Council has directed that these reports rise directly to Council.
Carried? Carried. Reports. The President and CEO of Ottawa Community Housing Lands Development Corporation, Président et Directeur Général, Madame Harder. Councillor Harder, we have some good news from your committee again this year, and the floor is yours.
Okay. I thought I was going over there, but
Okay.
do we
If
have
you'd like.
slides? We do. I'm going to go
Okay.
and sit. Thank you. Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, colleagues. On behalf of the Ottawa Community Lands Development Corporation, we refer to it as OCLDC, and its Board of Directors, it is my pleasure to share with you the annual report for 2012. Le présent rapport met en contexte l'évaluation.
This report provides context for the evaluation and review the corporation's activities and progress in 2012.
Colleagues, to review our activities and results as well as the 2013 business plan. I'm pleased to report that in accordance with Council's direction, the OCLDC is on track to generate $22 million over this term of Council based on an annual requirement of $5.5 million. L'année 2012 a été productive.
The corporation had a productive year in 2012 by closing on sales totaling $7.3 million.
Efforts were focused on marketing the final stage of the Longfield Subdivision Demonstration Project, as well as a number of other strategic OCLDC projects. The mandate of OCLDC is to promote responsible and innovative developments that enhance the city's ability to respond to changing market demands and further the city's public policy objectives by building strong neighborhoods. Sales for the remaining lands in the Longfields demonstration plan have been with builders that support the above mandate, builders like Monarch, Cardell, and Burat. Implementation of the Longfields design guidelines in Phase 1 is progressing well, and we are confident that it will be successfully accomplished in Phase 2. We would like to reaffirm our commitment to promoting and achieving the best value for the corporation and for our city, and look forward to working with you to deliver projects that further this goal. The OCLDC, the Ottawa Community Land Development Corporation, has generated $11.3 million to date during this term of council. And based on projected 2013-2014 sales, we are on target to meet the $22 million goal for this term of council. The corporation was created by council in 2007 with the city as the sole shareholder, and as chair, je suis fier des réalisations.
And as a chair, I am proud of our accomplishments to date.
Financials in the OCLDC annual report and audited financial statements to council today. Thank you very much for your time. Merci.
Great. Thank you very much, Councillor Harder. Are there any questions for Councillor Harder? Thank you very much for the effort that you and your colleagues and staff are putting into this exercise. We appreciate it. It's one more item on your already heavy agenda, so we appreciate you taking on this leadership role.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So on the report, carried. Agriculture and Rural Affairs Committee report number 34. Monaghan Creek Municipal Drain Modifications, Modification de Drainage Municipal Monaghan Creek. And this item goes with item number 3, Van Gogh Municipal Drain Modification. And Councillor Thompson has a technical amendment, I believe, for both. If Councillor Thompson would like to move those, they're seconded by Councillor Blais.
Thank you, Your Worship, and I'll just read, therefore be resolved that the French recommendation be corrected to accurately reflect the wording contained in the English recommendation as follows, and that's for both drains.
So on the two amendments to item number 2 and 3, carried?
Carried.
On the main motion for Monaghan and Von Gall municipal drain modifications as amended?
Carried.
Carried. Thank you. Municipal addressing anomalies, line roads, second line, third line, fourth line, fifth line, and sixth line roads renaming. Carried. Item number 5, road opening and closing, 2725 Old Montreal Road, ouverture et fermeture de rue 2725 Chemin Old Montréal. Carried. Finance and Economic Development Committee report number 36, rapport numéro 36 du Comité des finances et de développement économique, Carling Avenue Community Improvement Plan, Plan d'amélioration communautaire de l'avenue Carling. Carried. Item number 7, Orleans Community Improvement Plan, Plan d'amélioration communautaire d'Orléans. Adopté. Merci. Item number 8, Property Acquisition Snow Disposal Facility 2125 Carp Road, acquisition de propriétaire dépôt de neige 2125 Chemin Carp. Carried. Item number 9, 150 Elgin, allocation of public benefit to Ottawa Tourism, 150 rue Elgin, affectation des avantages pour le public à Tourisme Ottawa. Carried. Thank you. Expropriation of lands, 10th Line Road, expropriation des terrains, chemin, 10th Line. Carried. Transportation Committee report number 30, rapport numéro 30 du Comité des Transports, temporary surface parking lot at 300 Queen Street, aire de stationnement de surface temporaire au 300 rue Queen. Carried. Item number 12, Beachburg Subdivision Railway, Troncon Ferroviavre Beachburg. Carried. Thanks to Councillor El Chantiri on that file and others. Item number 13, Pedestrian Crossing Strategy, Stratégie concernant les passages piétonnières. Carried. Does anyone wish to remove anything from the bulk consent agenda as presented? No. On the bulk consent agenda as presented, carried. Disposition of items approved by committees under delegated authority, suite à donner des articles ratifiés par le comité en vertu de pouvoirs délégués. Received. A motion to adopt reports. Motion portant adoption de rapport. Conseillers Blois et Blais. Merci.
that the report from the President and CEO, Ottawa Community Lands Development Corporation, entitled Ottawa Community Lands Development Corporation 2012 Annual Report, Agriculture Rural Affairs Committee Report 34, Finance and Economic Development Committee Report 36, and Transportation Committee Report 30 be received and adopted as amended.
Carried. Adopté. Motions of which notice have been previously given. Motion dont avis a été donné entièrement. Councillor Tierney, please. Sorry. And seconded by Councillor Blois.
Great. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I think it's on your screen, and I've spoken to some of the people that had concerns prior to in regards to this. We're just basically looking for an exemption so we can get a lot of work done in a shorter period of time. It's creating quite a bit of traffic in the east end of the city. So I'll go right to the therefore be resolved that the City of Ottawa approve the exemption to the noise bylaw for the construction activities associated with Highway 417 widening and the bridge replacement, the project, from the date of council approved December 31st, 2013, inclusive as follows. An exemption to Section 7.1 of the noise bylaw for the operation of construction vehicles and construction equipment being used for the project, such as they may operate between the hours of 2200 hours and 7 a.m. Monday through Saturday, and an exemption to Section 8.1 of the noise bylaw for the loading and unloading of transport trucks, moving vans, or motor vehicles for the project as such that these activities may take place between the hours of 2300 hours and 7 a.m. Monday through Saturday, and be it therefore resolved that the Deputy City Manager, Planning and Infrastructure be given the delegated authority to cancel this exemption due to excessive noise or undue impact as required.
So on, this was presented as a notice of motion at the last council meeting for members of the public and the council to consider. Does anyone have any questions? I know this was a concern of many members of council, and I thank Councillor Tierney for bringing this forward in this fashion.
Well, no.
Est-ce qu'il y a des questions, des commentaires sur cette...
Any comments or questions?
Carried.
Merci.
Thank you. Thanks, Councillor. Motions requiring suspension of the rules of procedure. Councillor Hubley has a motion seconded by Councillor Shirelli. First on suspension. Carried. Councillor Hubley, if you'd like to introduce your motion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Clark, dissent on suspending. Did we hear that? Councillor Clark? Did you dissent on suspension? So suspend. Okay, so one dissent on suspension, and Councillor Hubley, if you'd like to introduce your motion, seconded by Councillor Shirelli.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I appreciate my help the help I received from Councillor Shirelli and Councillor Thompson on this issue. This is a motion in support of labour mobility, and if you wish, I can go right to the therefore be it resolved. So I will. Therefore, be it resolved that Council supports the principle of unrestricted labour mobility for construction contractors, truckers, and haulers between Quebec and Ontario, including the removal of legislative, administrative, and enforcement impediments to such labour mobility between the provinces. Be it further resolved that Council support the elimination of any unfair or discriminatory enforcement practices that single out Ontario truckers and haulers as compared to Quebec-based trucker and haulers while they are operating in Quebec. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. Apparently the notification system is not working, so if people would like to speak, if you could just get my attention. I know Councillor Chalet, Councillor Harder. Anyone else? Okay. I'm sorry. Maybe we can just try it now. Councillor Harder? Yep, it's working now. So we'll go to Councillor Shirelli first, and then Councillor Harder, please. Councillor Shirelli.
Thank you, Your Worship. I first of all want to thank Councillor Hubley and Councillor Thompson for the work they did in your office on this. We've got an issue here that I know you, Mr. Mayor, introduced a motion on this in the late 90s, and the issue is still here. It's still here, but there have been some changes and there have been some improvements. There are improvements to legislation on both sides, both in Ontario and in Quebec, but we still have need for additional changes, and we also have the need for equitable enforcement and implementation. And that's a serious concern for a lot of the groups involved. I think that as tomorrow, when the legislature will consider a motion or a private member's bill, it's important that the legislature be informed as to what our position is. And I think it's important that if it goes forward, that the legislature is able to be guided by our position as it goes through, as the bill goes through committee. But in addition to that, I think we have to recognize that the government is in a position as well where it could take direct bilateral action with Quebec to help improve the situation. I think this motion states very clearly our commitment to labor mobility and our commitment to the elimination of unfair discriminatory enforcement practices that single out Ontario workers, while at the same time being mindful of the concerns of the contractors, construction groups, and workers in Ontario. So I urge Council to support the motion. I think it sends all the right messages, and I think it will be met warmly by the groups who have the most stake in this.
Great, thank you, and thank you for your work on it, Councillor. Councillor Harder, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And the reason I am speaking to this is I think way back in 2003, I believe, those of us that were around the table, we did move this motion at that time. Actually, the province wasn't interested in what we were complaining about, but it certainly was a situation then. And I think that for a short period of time, things got moderately better, but obviously we're back to where we were. What concerned me when this discussion first started on this was that we didn't have the support, although the MPP for Carleton, Mississippi Mills, he went about it in a different fashion than would normally happen, didn't have the support of the very people he was trying to support. And I know that that was concerning to many of us because obviously the people that we have been trying to champion and do this for are the people that you want to have supportive of what your initiative is. So I say kudos to Councillors Hubley, Thompson, and Shirelli for getting that corrected and getting that support from Mr. DeVries and other. But I would say I think the reason it's important for us to support this today is because of the current political situation in Quebec. I don't think that this is going to get better. This is going to get worse. We're going to need to make this statement today to the Ontario government, and we're going to need their support. I think that what we're seeing happening in Quebec now with the Premier and where she's going, I think that that's going to have reverberate through many different sectors, and I believe that this motion today, with the support of the industry, the local industry here in Ottawa, is certainly worth supporting, and so I will be. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor. Conseiller Fleury, s'il vous plaît.
Merci, Monsieur le Maire. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. When I met with the MP, I said that the reality may be different on the ground.
The issue that we don't seem to understand some of the rules, the union rules in Quebec. And if you followed closely the Charbonneau inquiry, you quickly understand that there's quite the system of rules that, and it's no excuse that, again, this motion just wants equality and highlights some of these challenges, but they have a whole slew of issues on that side that I'm not sure that we want to necessarily get too involved with. So, you know, I understand the gist of it. It seems to be something that in the industry has been ongoing for years and years, and at some point definitely discussions are needed between both provinces to resolve this issue, because we're such a fabulous region. It'd be unfortunate to start putting boundaries on people to cross. I mean, if you're a good electrician, we don't care where you live, we want your services.
Right. Thank you. And just, I want to thank Councillor Hubley for initiating this, because I think it is a good compromise. We had discussions, I know, Councillors Hubley, Shirelli, and Thompson, to come up with the wording that I think made more sense for us other than the private members' bill that was being presented. And this motion does have the support of the Ottawa Construction Association, which is the voice of that industry. And we want to make sure that anything we do is not going to harm or hinder the growth of our construction sector on this side of the river. And so I believe this motion sends a signal of principle of where we stand to the province, and we certainly look forward to working with all MPPs from both or all three political parties to continue seeing progress so that there is fairness on both sides of the river for those men and women that work in the construction industry. So I thank the mover, the seconder, Councillor Thompson, and those who have had a comment on this. And Councillor Clark, as you know, it's tradition the mayor wraps up, and you've pressed your button, so there's one exception because you're a nice guy.
You're going to wrap up.
Well, usually when I start talking, that's the wrap-up.
This particular topic has been around longer than I have, and I remember that a fledgling premier named McGuinty said he would solve the problem, and since then the number of horror stories just mounts every week or every 2 weeks. Just some abnormally discriminatory practices on the other side. My view of the matter is that we always had a problem. We didn't have enough labor over here, and it was so Quebec labor coming in allowed us to, strengthen our construction industry here and get more jobs done, more tax base, all that other good stuff. So that's really not the issue. The issue is punitive kind of regulations over on the Quebec side that should be softened. I think this particular motion meets that test. I don't think that the private members' bill did, and I will be supporting this, but I think that the reality is that we need to keep dropping the drops of water on the stone. Hopefully the stone will crack sooner or later.
Thank you. So on the motion as presented by Councillor Hubley, carried. Thank you. Notice of the motion for consideration at subsequent meetings. Councillor Blais. Oh, I'm sorry, I apologize. Councillor Blais also has a motion requiring suspension of the rules of procedure as the announcement of the Heart Institute replacement was named today on suspension. Carried. Councillor Blais, seconded by Councillor Hubley.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Just a few minutes ago, Dr. Terry Massana was appointed as the new president and CEO of the Ottawa Heart Institute, and I thought it would be appropriate to do something in recognition of both his appointment and the service provided by Dr. Robert Roberts over the last 7 or 8 years. So whereas the University of Heart Institute is Canada's largest and foremost cardiovascular health center, whereas the University of Heart Institute has been recognized as a world leader in the provision of cardiovascular health care and research, whereas Dr. Robert Roberts has served Ottawa with distinction as the CEO of the Heart Institute since 2004, and whereas Dr. Terry Massana, cardiac surgeon and former chief of the Division of Cardiac Surgery, has this morning been appointed the new president and CEO of the University of Heart Institute, therefore be it resolved that the City of Ottawa formally acknowledge and thank Dr. Roberts for his dedicated service to our community, and be it further resolved that the City of Ottawa congratulate Dr. Massana on his appointment and invite him to address City Council at his convenience.
Great, and thank you for, I believe you attended the announcement at the Heart Institute, and I think we all know the great work that Dr. Roberts has done in our community, and we wish him well and welcome Dr. Massana. On the motion, carried. Thank you. Are there other motions requiring suspension of the rules of procedure? Notice is a motion for consideration at a subsequent meeting. We have Councillor Clark has a motion that he'd like to introduce, seconded by Councillor Fleury on notice of motion.
Some time ago, we added the Beechwood corridor to the Vanier/Beechwood section so that both sides of the street would get treatment by the BIA. This motion is merely pointing out that since there are 2 wards involved, there should be 2 councillors involved. So the whereases are self-explanatory, and we just wish to have it resolved. Staff be directed to prepare an amending bylaw to increase the membership of the Board of Management to a maximum of 9 members, at least one of whom should be a member of council. Approve the appointment of Councillor Peter Clark to Ward Councillor Ward 13 to the BIA Board of Management.
Okay, so that's a notice of motion. We'll deal with that at our next council meeting. The next notice of motion I have is moved by Councillor Fleury on behalf of Councillor Hobbs and seconded by Councillor Clark. Councillor Fleury, s'il vous plaît.
Just therefore be it resolved. Does everyone have it in front? So whereas Staff Delegated Authority report has approved the payment in lieu of providing 14 parking spaces at 111 Richmond Road for a mid-rise apartment building, and whereas the Staff Delegated Authority report calls for the applicant to pay a total of $36,400 for those 14 spaces, therefore be it resolved that upon the owners agreeing in writing to make a contribution of $36,386 to the City of Ottawa Parks and Recreation Department, Parks, Recreation, and Culture Department towards improving the Byron Linear Park, including provisions to better integrate the popular Westboro Farmers Market into the park, and the fee for cash in lieu of parking shall be reduced to $1 per space for a total of $14. Again, this is a notice of motion.
Okay, thank you. We'll deal with that at the next meeting. And the next one is also moved by Councillor Fleury on behalf of Councillor Hobbs, seconded by Councillor Clark.
And it's the same thing, it's just this one is 393-401 Richmond Road, and it's 18 spaces, and the amount is $23,391.
Okay, so that will also be dealt with at the next council meeting. Are there any other motions, notices of motion, rather? Est-ce qu'il y a des autres avis de motion? No. Okay, thank you. Motion to introduce bylaws. Motion portant présentation de règlement. Conseiller Blois, s'il vous plaît.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, that the bylaws listed on the agenda under the motion to introduce bylaws, 3 readings, be read and passed.
Carried. Confirmation bylaw, règlement de ratification. Conseiller Blois et Blair.
Que les règlements suivants soient lus et adoptés.
To confirm the proceedings of the council meeting of September 11th, 2013.
Carried. Inquiries, we have 3 that I'm aware of. First, Councillor McCrae has written it out. Councillor.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. My inquiry number 1, who enforces site plans for compliance? Number 2, what is the city policy for conducting inspections and ensuring compliance? Is it usual for the community to have to continually raise issues about non-compliance? Number 3, what is the city policy for addressing non-compliance with respect to sending registered letters, completing the work, cashing letters of credit, etc.? And number 4, are the policy documents referenced in items number 2 and 3 available online? If not, in the interest of transparency and in utilizing Service Ottawa to its full extent, can these documents be placed online? Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. The next one I have in writing is Councillor Hubley, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Actually, I'd like to tell my colleagues I actually went out and inspected one of these this morning, which is what's leading to the inquiry. Apparently, school boards are now using more multi-passenger vans to deliver students to their schools. We are aware that these vans, that the schools are using the bus drop-off areas with board permission, but we are also aware of a serious issue this practice is now creating. Parents are dropping children off in the same area where the buses are because they see these unmarked minivans and they believe that the rules have been changed. This is creating demand on our bylaw services and, more importantly, a safety issue. So my question to staff is, what can the city do on an urgent basis to mandate the marking of these minibuses so that they're better identified to parents to know that they're in a bus-approved area? So
Great.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
That's a good point. Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Clark, an inquiry.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. In FEDCO Report 36, the 6-month report on finances shows that there's a $1.7 million deficit in the sponsorship and advertising program. As somebody who predicted this, I don't want to gloat because my name is not Rayner. But being right gives you the right to do that. Anyway, the inquiry is, can a detailed report of the program changes and plan be presented to FEDCO at the earliest opportunity?
Okay, if you could write that out, Councillor.
If I could remember what it was.
Councillor Harder, I believe you had not necessarily an inquiry, but an announcement as in your capacity as chair of the Library Board. Councillor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I actually should have been Johnny off the mark at the beginning, as is our normal practice, but I just wanted to tell everybody, and the people that are on the board certainly know this. On October 2nd, the Ottawa Public Library Board has been given a unique opportunity to partner with the Canadian Comedy Awards, which are being held on our front lawn at Marion Dewar Plaza. They've built this fantastic red pavilion, and it has the Mackenzie Brothers stage inside the Great White North. It's going to we have the use of it for 2 hours on October 2nd, Wednesday. The tickets are just $40. That gives you a drink. It gives you some snacks. You get to listen to comedian Sean Cullen, and we're being hosted by Ken Avraire. I really, really hope that for all the hardworking staff that are here and the media that are here till 5:30, always, every day, that you'll just step out the front door and join us, and it's only $40, and it goes to raising the profile and raising some money for the Ottawa Public Library. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Are there any other written inquiries? Je pense qu'aujourd'hui, c'est le dernier.
I think that today is the last day for François-Pierre Dufault, who works for Le Droit. He's a journalist, and he will start a new position with TFO. So, Mr. Dufault, good luck in your new job, and thank you for your work at City Hall.
Councillor Blois, adjournment, please.
The proceedings of the City Council meeting of September the 11th in the year of 2013 be adjourned.
Carried. Carried. Thank you all very much. Meeting adjourned. Merci beaucoup.